I just kind of wanted to go over modules 7 and 8 with you quickly. Today is Saturday, August 12th. And if you are looking at our content, since it is a summer course, as I've stated before, modules 7 and 8 are both due the same week, since our summer courses are a week shorter. So module 7 and 8 runs August 14th through August 20th. I do try to grade stuff kind of as it comes in when I can. I am a teacher also, as you guys know, so I'm back at work-ish. I'm in services right now. I ended up switching back to my old district to be a STEAM teacher, so my in-services are a little bit different than I initially thought day-wise, but I officially begin Monday the 14th with in-services, and our kids start on the 23rd. So I will be working all day, and I did have a few days of in-service last week as well. So if I wasn't able to reply to a text or an email right away during the day, that's because that's where I was at. All right, so let's kind of dive into these modules. One thing really quickly before I do that, please make sure that you send all of your practicum timesheets to Julie Hummel. You'll also want to keep a copy of that for yourself for your portfolio. All right, so let's look at module 7. Also, on another note, thank you guys for being so patient with the grading for Module 5. Like I said, there had been some error with the way assignments had been linked within the gradebook. So I wanted to make sure that I gave everybody ample time to get things submitted just because of that discrepancy, because there were, I think, 4 or 5 students who were impacted by this. So Module 7, we do have our reading to do. I've noticed that some of you have already gotten a jump on that, as I've seen some of the takeaways turned in for chapters 11 and 12. You guys are doing a great job with your takeaways or those chapter summaries, just kind of rehashing, restating what you have already learned. For our discussion board, you are going to pick a child who could be blind or deaf, and what adaptations and materials you would use to support that child. Again, discussions, the initial post is due by Wednesday. So for this one, it would be Wednesday, August 16th, with the follow-ups being due by Sunday, which would be August 20th. 7.3, this is actually one of my favorite assignments for this course, and that is because it really focuses on our religious aspect. Since we are a Christian college, I really liked this assignment. Kind of blends all of that back together with our learning. All right, Module 8. Let's see. All right, again, we have our readings. You have your takeaways. It looks like chapter 4 this time. Your discussion is going to be one of those scenarios where, and some of you may have seen this in your observations and in your practicums already. So think about how you would support a colleague. It's really important as we move through the educational field that no matter how experienced we are taking feedback from others and always asking to better ourselves. So that reflective piece is huge in what makes a quality teacher. So I like that this discussion really focuses on that, because no matter how long we've been teaching, we can always learn from others. All right, the adaptation template I know is a little bit confusing. And so you are going to use this template to come up with adaptations for learners. So let me go ahead and pull that up. All right. So how would you adapt for your student in terms of class size? So what would you do with that student if they were in a class of 20? How would you make adaptations due to class size? Time, would you offer extended time? Would you offer breaks? What kind of things would you do? Level of support, that comes down to basically, is the child going to have a one-on-one aid all of the time? As they're going to be push in, pull out, small group, para support, how much para support, that sort of thing. Input, think about kind of the sensory input, or you could also look at it in the angle of, I would probably go with sensory support. So kind of look at that sensory support input. What kind of things are they taking in environmentally around them? And then output, same thing. How are they giving back their answers and whatnot in that class setting or small group setting? Difficulty. How are you going to adapt assignments with the level of rigor? Obviously, we want all students to be exposed to the same standards because all students are general education kids first. But what is your level of difficulty going to be? And how will you maintain that rigor so they are exposed to those standards, but also take into account what their learning disability is and what might be achievable for that child? Participation. If you have a child who is selective mute, for example, how are you going to have that student participate? What will constitute as participation for that child in comparison to other students? So how will you make accommodations there? Alternate, what kind of alternate assessments or activities could you provide for that student? So for example, if you have a student who is visually impaired, what would be something that you would do as an alternative when using like a Venn diagram in the classroom for your students? Substitute curriculum. There are times where special education curriculums do utilize an alternate or substitute curriculum. Not all of them do. So in that sense, you could look at what would be other materials or resources that you're bringing in. A lot of the basal or prescribed curriculums that are out there for reading and math will have levels in there. So these are center ideas for on-level students. These are center ideas for below-level students. These are center ideas for above-level students. So that might be something if you're not using an alternate or substitute curriculum for that child. Try not to overthink this. Just think about what you would do based on that child that you've been working with. If you have a child where you're feeling like you really can't answer a lot of these questions, feel free to look back at other areas in the classroom that you've been in before, maybe something in your own preschool teaching experience, whatever it is. Kind of think about that scenario if that works better for you. Let's see. You have the pre-referral information document. So we are kind of going to go back, look at what we've already done, and really use this as a reflection tool. So again, you're going to be looking at that pre-referral form and thinking about, okay, this is what I saw as his strengths. Now that I've worked with a child for 15 hours, here's what I've learned about those strengths. Maybe what's come to light more, or maybe there was something that you didn't realize was a strength off the bat, and now you would say that it is a strength. Context for learning. Let me get that to load for you. Okay, we did this back at the beginning also, where we looked at that context for learning and how we would make supports or accommodations. So again, now that you've been working with that student for a while, how would you adapt those adaptations that you came up with already? So think back to what you've already done, so what supports you came up with, and how would you make those even better now? Or how would you tweak them based on your knowledge of working with the student? And then again, as I stated, that you will want to make sure that you submit those practicum hours, and you're going to want to keep that for your BAEC plus licensure learning community for future reference. Then there is also a reflection. I know that this one is a kind of lengthy module, but just remember that you have done a lot of the legwork already in regards to the context for learning and pre-referral, and you've been learning about the student as you've gone. So you have a lot of that knowledge already there, and you know that child better than anyone right now. Your reflection, I want you to think about that practicum experience. Think about what you got out of the experience. How might you do it differently? Is there a different disability you might have selected? What are some things that you really took away? A lot of times students from this course will take away that they really learned the importance of adaptation and accommodation and making sure students with special needs are treated equally and fairly in the classroom. So this is, again, one of my favorite papers to read for this assignment. So that's kind of where we are at. We are wrapping it up. Please, again, feel free to reach out with any questions. I know that there are a lot of assignments, so you might have questions and after watching the video even, and that's perfectly fine. Please let me know. I am more than happy to help you. Again, I will be back at work most days. I also have my kids all week this week as my ex-husband is out of town. So just know that I will be doing my grading and most of my communication at night, but I do have my kids with me. So that's just kind of an FYI. I've really enjoyed working with all of you, and I'm hopeful that I will have some of you guys in courses again. If you need anything in the future after you're completed with this course, please don't hesitate to reach out. I have done disposition forms for students in the past when they've needed me to. If you do need me to do that, please just make sure in your email you include the term you were in with me. So this would be summer second session and what the course was. I hope you've had a wonderful summer. I hope you've enjoyed this course and have a fantastic rest of your weekend.